Generally smooth traffic flow at the Cross Harbour Tunnel on the first day of Hong Kong e-toll implementation. Liu Guangyuan named Deputy Director of the Central Government's Liaison Office in Hong Kong. And in Cambodia, Hun Sen looks set to win a landslide victory in general election. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Starting at 5 a.m. today, the free-flowing toll system Hong Kong e-toll began operations at the Cross Harbour Tunnel. It's the city's first Cross Harbour road link to be installed with the system. Mo Sung-ai has more.
On early Sunday morning, just about an hour after the HKE toll implementation, some workers were busy working near the entrance to the Cross Harbour Tunnel. According to Transport Commissioner Rosanna Law, to avoid accidents caused by drivers failing to cut into other lanes, the workers were asked to improve the lane demarcations. The number of traffic lanes passing through the toll booths in Hong Kong has been reduced from 8 to 4 in both directions, then further reduced to 2 inside the tunnel. While the traffic was largely smooth during the first morning of the change, some drivers were not used to it and slowed down at one of the toll booths. The same happened to the driver of this white car, and some tunnel staff went up to offer assistance. As the Transport Commissioner said, the purpose of using the HKE toll system is to improve the chaotic scenes caused by drivers cutting into other lanes before entering the tunnel. Do drivers think the new system can improve the traffic situation? This taxi driver said traffic is unpredictable, so he will simply monitor the situation when he approaches the tunnel. This man, meanwhile, believes traffic congestion will still appear in future. He also said he will not use the Cross Harbour Tunnel on Monday, the first working day since the HKE toll implementation, as he anticipates a messy traffic scene. The HKE toll system will be extended to the 2 other road harbour crossings in August. Mo Sung-ai, TVB News.
Liu Guangyuan, the head of the Commissioner's Office of China's Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong, has been appointed as the new Deputy Director of the Central Government's Liaison Office in the city. According to the Liaison Office's website, information about the senior officials has been updated, showing Liu as the new Deputy Director. According to China's Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security, Chen Dong has also been removed from his post, meaning he has become the predecessor of Liu. Previously, Liu had been entrusted with different positions, including the posts of minister at the Chinese Embassy in the United States and ambassador to Poland. Chief Executive John Lee arrived in Singapore this afternoon, kicking off the first leg of his week-long ASEAN tour. The CE was seen arriving at his hotel in the city-state. He was welcomed by Singaporean billionaire and chairman of Sino Group, Robert Ng. Lee's delegation includes other top officials, such as Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong and Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Algernon Yao. The chief executive will stay in Singapore for 3 days before departing for Indonesia and Malaysia. One of the goals in Chief Executive John Lee's trip is to explore business opportunities in the 3 ASEAN countries. Jackie Lin spoke with some business leaders from the delegation accompanying the CE on what they hope to achieve during the week-long trip.
Another CE-led mission to woo business and tell a good Hong Kong story, this time to Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Among the business representatives in the CE-led delegation is George Lam, co-chairman of the Hong Kong Aerospace Technology Group, who hopes to push new frontiers of collaboration.
Including satellite data services, satellite launching services, and so on. So we are very hopeful that we can work with a good strategic partner there to look at the long term.
While its mainland counterparts might face constraints due to Western sanctions, Lam said Hong Kong's flagship aerospace company grapples with fewer political issues.
We have absolutely no state-owned enterprises or whatever like that in our shareholding. We are focused on commercial satellite business, not defense, not military. And our customers are from everywhere, including the US and Europe.
As the only Hong Kong aerospace company in the delegation, George Lam said there's no target set in terms of the number of deals struck during the trip. That's because it's not about picking the low-hanging fruit, but about forming long-term partnerships during joint ventures. Also in the delegation are legal and dispute resolution services representatives, including solicitor Ronald Sum. He admits some international businesses and investors have sought arbitration services elsewhere, including Singapore instead of Hong Kong.
How we can show that we still uphold the rule of law. Okay. On this part, we will just have to rely on every single legal practitioners, be it lawyers, be it barristers, be it the judiciaries. They come to Hong Kong to practice. They visit Hong Kong lawyers. By showing the hard facts, we can show them that Hong Kong is still a place for arbitration and mediation.
Both Ronald Sum and George Lam also said the trip offers a good opportunity to change the narrative of rivalry between Hong Kong and the Lion City to more collaboration and healthy competition. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee has condemned the parents of a 12-year-old boy who was abandoned at Kwong Wah Hospital, saying it is incumbent on them to take care of their children. Sources say the boy was born to mainland parents and that the police contacted the mother yesterday, who said she would come back for her child at an unspecified date. Authorities are looking into whether the parents will face legal consequences. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Found wandering around the emergency ward in Kwong Wah Hospital, the abandoned 12-year-old boy, surnamed Chen, was reported by hospital staff to authorities at around noon on Friday. Sources say the boy carried a Hong Kong identity card and was born in the city to mainland parents in 2011 before being taken up north. Chen reportedly followed his mother from Nanchang City in Jiangxi Province to the SAR on Tuesday via high-speed rail. The pair then visited Kwong Wah Hospital at 5 in the morning on Friday, claiming that Chen was suffering from diarrhea and coughing. He was told by his mother to tell the hospital staff that he was abandoned. The doctor who saw Chen contacted the police after noticing the parents were missing and that the child was not suffering from any of the reported health problems. Authorities have since been in contact with the mother, who said she would retrieve her child at an unspecified date. They are deciding whether to continue their investigations and classify the case as child abuse. Chen has been placed under local childcare services. Meanwhile, Chief Executive John Lee criticized the parents, adding that they have a legal responsibility to educate and care for their offspring. He said he hopes the two will come back for their son. Lee further said investigations are underway to determine whether Chen's parents will face legal consequences. This, as the Against Child Abuse organization stressed that the actions of Chen's parents could lead to a traumatic experience and that the government should properly assess whether the boy should be returned to his parents. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Spain goes to the polls today in an election that could result in the far-right taking power for the first time since the end of Francisco Franco's era in 1975. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, leader of the ruling socialists, cast his ballot in the snap election today. Sanchez called the election after the left took a drubbing in local polls in May. The result is expected to be decided by less than 1 million votes and fewer than 10 seats in the 350-seat parliament, experts say. Among those going against Sanchez is main opposition leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo, one of the Conservative People's Party. Analysts predict a win for the center-right People's Party, but it will need a coalition ally in the far-right Vox Party, which many Spaniards reportedly oppose. Still ahead, human casualties and an Orthodox cathedral badly damaged after Russia launched new air attacks on Ukraine's port city of Odessa. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fitted with a pacemaker in emergency procedure. And 4 women sent to hospital after a fire in Wong Tai Sin. Welcome back. Russia continued its attacks on the Ukrainian Black Sea city of Odessa. Reports say at least 1 person was killed and dozens of others were injured in overnight and Sunday strikes using Onyx and Caliber missiles. Moscow, meanwhile, accused Ukraine of using cluster munitions in an attack that left a Russian war reporter dead and 3 others injured in Zaporizhia. Nazvi Karim with more.
Religious artifact salvaged from the rubble of a destroyed church. Russia continues to attack the Ukrainian port city of Odessa, deeming the city a military target after refusing to extend the grain export deal, warning that ships sailing to Ukraine's Black Sea ports would be considered military targets. This time, they hit the Spaso-Preobrazhensky Cathedral of the Moscow-linked Ukrainian Orthodox Church, or UOC, a building consecrated in 1809. Officials reported 1 person was killed and 22 others were injured. The UOC is Ukraine's 2nd largest church and says it broke ties with the Russian Orthodox Church last May, though Kyiv accuses it of maintaining ties. Russia says the attacks on Odessa and other port cities were carried out in revenge for Ukraine's strike on the Kerch Bridge in Crimea on Monday. The bridge links Russia to the peninsula. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the bridge is a legitimate military target, though Moscow insists it has long stopped using the link as a supply route for its armed forces. The Ukrainian leader also said he would be discussing security in the Black Sea with NATO under the framework of the NATO-Ukraine Council created at the recent alliance summit in Lithuania. In preparation for more drone attacks on Crimea, Russia has stationed a women's volunteer territorial defense unit in the eastern city of Yevpatoria. The volunteers are training with combat drones. Backed by the Russian Defense Ministry, the training course also involves field medicine basics. Moscow has banned civilians from taking pictures of Crimea infrastructure and posting them on the internet, which they fear may give Ukraine location intelligence. Russia, meanwhile, accused Ukraine of using controversial cluster munitions in an attack in southern Zaporizhia, killing 1 Russian war journalist. The United States recently agreed to supply Ukraine with cluster bombs, which can cause significant civilian casualties in densely populated areas. Calling it a heinous crime, Russia said Ukraine attacked a civilian vehicle carrying 4 journalists. A correspondent for RIA Novosti, Rostislav Jurevlev, reportedly died of his wounds. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Russian security forces on Saturday killed a heavily armed gunman who said he had fought in Ukraine after he broke into a private house in Moscow. The gunman, carrying an assault rifle, was seen in the Istra region about 45 kilometers west of Moscow when 2 guards and a police officer entered the house. The man held them at gunpoint, but they managed to escape. Authorities tried to negotiate with him for several hours. He claimed to have come from the front lines in Ukraine and was driven by God to march on the Kremlin. The gunman, later identified as a mentally unstable 35-year-old from Siberia, was killed when special forces stormed the house. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has had a pacemaker implanted and reportedly told doctors he was feeling great and returning to work. Netanyahu released a video before the procedure saying he felt excellent and planned to push forward with a judicial overhaul that has triggered mass protests in Israel. He was rushed to hospital early on Sunday for an emergency implantation of a heart pacemaker. A physician at the Sheba Medical Center said later that the procedure went well and Netanyahu, 73, felt fine. Netanyahu's announcement, issued well after midnight, came a week after he was hospitalized at Sheba for what was described as dehydration. Canada's Atlantic coast has been suffering from heavy rainfall, causing flash floods that have left 4 people, including 2 children, missing and feared drowned. Overhead footage shows huge areas of Nova Scotia submerged. Several people got into difficulty when flash floods swept away vehicles. Some cars got stuck underwater. Water rose so fast that boats were used to rescue people. Areas that normally see 100 millimeters of rain in July received a deluge of at least double and, in some towns, triple the monthly average in just 24 hours. Parts of these same regions suffered forest fires at the end of May. The mayor of Halifax said, "We're getting 1 in 50-year events regularly," and blamed climate change. And back at home, a fire broke out at a public housing estate unit in Wong Tai Sin. 4 people were sent to hospital for treatment. Sources say the 4 are sisters and that the fire was started after a property dispute. One of the sisters, armed with a knife, was arrested. The incident occurred at around 3 p.m. when police received reports of a fire in a unit on the 35th floor of Tse Lok Estate in Wong Tai Sin. Fire services personnel later put out the blaze. Authorities found flammable material in the apartment as well as blood in the estate lobby. Some neighbors said they saw several women engage in a dispute. One person was said to be wielding a knife, while another started the fire. The 4 injured are aged between 46 and 51. They either suffered from various degrees of burns or sustained knife wounds. Starting today, the Fanling Golf Course will be opened for public tours every Sunday. The Hong Kong Golf Club stressed that the move is not meant to sway the opinion of residents or authorities over the building of public housing projects on the premises. The course welcomes visitors every Sunday between 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. They will get to see the first 3 holes, which make up the territory that will be reclaimed by the government in September. The Hong Kong Golf Club noted that it hopes the move could attract residents from all socioeconomic backgrounds to enjoy the scenery of the Fanling Golf Course. However, Chief Executive John Lee emphasized that despite the actions taken by the golf club, the government remains firm in its decision to take back part of the golf course. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye for now.